take a look at the graphs of quadratic equations. Remember those? The x squared equations? Well, here's one.
With all due respect, sir, I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
You're used to graphing lines. Let's put in some points and see what happens. If we put in 0, we'll get 0 squared, or 0. Let's graph that point. That's easy. Now let's put in the next easiest point, or number 1. 1 squared, remember, is 1 times 1, or 1. So we'll go over 1 and up 1. Starting to look like a line, isn't it? Now I'm going to throw something crazy at you. I'm going to put in negative 1. Negative 1 squared, which is negative 1 times negative 1, equals positive 1, doesn't it? And if you look at the point negative 1, positive 1, it doesn't line up, but we didn't make a mistake.
Wait just a minute.
Let's put a couple more numbers in. We'll put in 2, just to see what's going on here. 2 squared is 4, and the point 2, 4 is right there. And I'm going to put in negative 2, because that'll be easy also. Negative 2 squared is also 4, isn't it? If I go back 2 and up 2, what do you have here? A curve. Whenever you have a function that has an x squared in it, it forms a curve.
Do that again.
Let's make sure that wasn't just a coincidence or a freak of nature.
Holy alphabet.
How about this one, where we have more than one x, but we do have that x squared? I'll start off with 0. Of course, I'll put a 0 everywhere
Bring it on.
that I see x. And 0 squared plus 2 times 0 minus 1 is minus 1. So the point 0 minus 1 will go right there. Now let's see. I'm going to put in 1 again. But remember, I put it in every place I see x. And I get a 2. 1 plus 2 is 3, minus 1 is 2. So the point over 1 and up 2. And just like last time, I'm going to put in minus 1, just to make things go quicker. Putting in a minus 1. Remember, minus 1 squared is positive 1. And 2 times minus 1 is negative 2. 1 plus a negative 2 and a negative 1 equals a negative 2. Now, negative 1, back 1 and down 2. What's going on here? They're not lining up. They're kind of curving. Let's put in negative 2. Negative 2 squared is positive 4. And a negative 4 and a negative 1. It's coming back up. In that case, y is negative 1. So I go back 2 and down 1. Let me put in one more number. Put in negative 3. See if it comes back up. Negative 3 squared is positive 9. And 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And all that equals a positive 2. So let's go back 3 and up 2. And son of a gun, I still have a curve.
Is a lie.
It's just in a different place. Well, I wonder if it's always going to look like that. Let's try something like, let's try a negative x squared term, negative 2x squared. I'll put in a 0. Of course, I'll get a 0. I'll graph that point. If I put in a 1, I'll get, got to do the 1 squared first, order of operations and all, and then negative 2, and I'll get negative 2. Over 1 and down 2. Now I can't resist. Let me try that negative 1 again and see what happens. Negative 1 squared is positive 1. times negative 2, I get a negative 2, don't I? Now back 1 and down 2.
Oh, it didn't work.
Oh, it did.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
It's still a curve, it just opens downward.
Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
Well, what I need you to know, anything that contains an x squared,
I know you are, but what am I?
it's going to be, we'll call it quadratic, is either going to look like a curve opening upward, that's if the x squared term is positive, or a curve opening downward if the x squared term is negative.
There's something I have to ask you.
Now, since you know you're going to have to come up with these curves, typically a student asks,
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
they ask, how did I know what numbers to put in? And I know a secret.
Houston, we have a problem.
I mean, consider, what if I had put these 4 numbers in? How would I know where the curve was? Could be there. Could be there. Could be there.
Ay, caramba!
Could even be there, couldn't it? Because it could open downward. So how do I know which numbers to put in?
Perhaps I could be of some assistance.
Well, this point, the middle point if you would, is called the vertex. No matter what curve you have, the middle point, the maximum or the minimum point, is called the vertex.
Here's someone who can help you.
And I can find that vertex if I consider that every quadratic equation, x squared function, is going to be of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. A number in front of x squared is the a, the number in front of x is the b, and the constant, the number sitting by itself, is the c. Do you know that the vertex will always be at negative b over 2a? In this case, the vertex will be at negative of 2 over 2 times 1. Or, let's see, negative 2 over 2 times 1, it'll always be at negative 1. Now that's the x. How do you know what the y will be? Well, put negative 1 into the formula, and it tells you what the y is.
Oh dear, that's too wonderful to be true.
It is, because once you know where the vertex is, it's going to be very easy to pick the correct numbers to put in to graph that quadratic equation.
Oh, is this great?
Let's try this one. In this case, the vertex is going to be at, of course, negative b over 2a. Now a is 3, b is negative 6, and c is 1. So the vertex will be at negative of negative 6 over 2 times positive 3. Now remember, the negative of a negative is a positive, so we've got 6 over 6. It's going to be at 1. So the number I'm going to put in
Now what am I gonna do?
is going to be 1.
You have chosen wisely.
Watch. I put in a 1, and I'm going to get a negative 2. The point 1, negative 2 is not only on this graph, but I know it's the vertex.
Hey man, check it out.
Okay? Now, I'm going to graph one point to the right, or put one point to the right of that number, which in this case will be 2. Putting in a 2, I'll get a 1, the point 2, 1. And I'm going to put, I put 1 point to the right. Now I'm going to put 1 point to the left. That's 0. I love 0. Putting in 0, I get a 1. The point 0, 1. Oh, this is looking good. I know it's a curve, and I already know where it is.
Woohoo! Come to Papa.
I just draw it. So once you find that vertex, do 1 point to the right and 1 point to the left, and you're there.
Now I use my secret weapon.
You can check my answer with your calculator. Here's the buttons you'll use. The y equals button, That's the X button. That's the graph button. And the clear button. Of course, the on button. If you turn your calculator on, hit Y equals, you might have to clear out something from previous class. So hit the clear button. And then type the equation we just did, x to the second, or x squared, plus 3x minus 2. And then hit graph, and son of a gun, you'll see the picture. Now if you want to get rid of it, hit clear. Want to do another? Remember that when you want to do a second one, you're going to have to hit clear to clear out the first one. And remember, there's a difference between the subtraction and the negative. Let's try an upside down one. If your calculator's not on, turn it on. Hit Y equals. Now clear out what you already had with the clear button. And this time put negative 2x squared plus 3. Okay, now that's the negative button. Negative 2x squared plus 3. And if you hit graph, I hope you're not surprised that the graph opens down, doesn't it? Okay, go ahead and clear out. And now,
transfer of data is complete.
It's up to you to do the homework. Dig in.